The faded scent of lavender clung to the air in my mother-in-law's cluttered attic. A ghost of summers long past when Emily and I would sneak up here as newlyweds, laughing over dusty trunks like kids raiding a forbidden playground. That was 7 years ago, back when her kisses still tasted like forever. Now, on this humid September afternoon, 6 years to the day since Sarah's wedding that never happened, I was up here alone, elbow-deep in yellowed photo albums, tasked with sorting relics for the estate sale. Mom had passed 3 weeks earlier. Her hospice bed a battlefield of wilting flowers and unspoken regrets. Emily was downstairs, charming the realtor with her honeyed laugh, the one that always made my chest tighten with that old, irrational pride. My fingers brushed a loose Polaroid tucked into the spine of an album, and the world tilted. There I was, arms slung around Sarah's waist at her engagement party, both of us beaming under strings of fairy lights that had cost me a small fortune to import from Italy. The man in the photo looked like a stranger, boyish grin, eyes wide with the kind of blind optimism that precedes a fall. But it was the scrawled ink on the back that punched the air from my lungs. To my thief of a sister, enjoy the scraps. Love always, Sarah. June 12, 2019. 6 years ago. The date seared into my brain like a brand. I hadn't thought of Sarah in months, not really. She'd faded into the periphery of our lives. A polite Christmas card here, a strained family brunch there. But this was a splinter under the skin festering. I sank onto a steamer trunk, the wood groaning under my weight, and rubbed my temples. Why did it matter now? Emily had won. She'd swept into my life like a summer storm, all fire and certainty, convincing me Sarah was too fragile, too vanilla for the chaos of my world. The boardrooms, the private jets, the empire I'd built from a single risky venture in Silicon Valley. Millionaire fiancé? That was me, back when my net worth was still climbing like a fever dream. Sarah had been sweet, steady, the kind of woman who baked sourdough on weekends and dreamed of a quiet life in the suburbs. Emily? She was ambition wrapped in silk, whispering in my ear about legacies and power moves while her fingers traced patterns on my chest. I'd rationalized it all. The late-night calls from Sarah that Emily intercepted, the way Emily, accidentally, showed up at my office with coffee just as Sarah was leaving, the canceled rehearsal dinner where Emily's tears had sealed the deal. It's fate, she'd sobbed into my shirt that night. We're the real storm. I'd believed her because I wanted to. Love isn't logical, it's a ledge you leap from. Downstairs, the clink of glasses pulled me back. The realtor was gone, and Emily's voice floated up, low and coaxing on the phone. Yes, wire it to the Cayman account. No traces, darling. He's too buried in grief to notice. My pulse hammered in my ears. Darling? I crept to the attic stairs, the Polaroid crinkling in my fist, and peered through the railing slats. Emily paced the kitchen, her auburn hair catching the late sun like embers, phone pressed to her ear. She wore that emerald dress, the one that hugged her curves like a secret. The same shade Sarah had chosen for her bridesmaid gown. It's perfect timing, she murmured, a smile curling her lips. Mom's gone, Sarah's spiraling. God, that woman's a mess. We'll clean up the loose ends, then vanish. Half the portfolio easy. He's blind to it all. Blind. The word landed like a slap. I gripped the railing, knuckles whitening, as fragments of the past clawed their way up. Subtle shadows I'd dismissed as paranoia. The way Emily's eyes would glaze over during our anniversary dinners, staring at her phone like it held a lover's code. The business trips, to New York that stretched into weeks, always with vague excuses about networking with investors. Last month, the bank alert I'd ignored. A $250,000 transfer to an offshore shell company in her name. Charity donation, she'd said, kissing my forehead. For Mom's memory. I'd nodded, because questioning her felt like questioning us, and us was the one solid thing in a life built on shifting sands. I descended the stairs on silent feet, each step a betrayal of the man I'd been. The one who trusted without proof, loved without ledger. The kitchen smelled of chamomile tea and regret, steam curling from her mug like a confession waiting to escape. She hung up as I entered, slipping the phone into her pocket with the grace of a magician palming a card. Hey stranger, she said, her voice a velvet hook. Find any treasures up there? Mom hoarded like a dragon. She crossed to me, arms sliding around my waist, her perfume, jasmine and something sharper, like ambition, flooding my senses. For a split second, I leaned in, muscle memory overriding the storm in my chest. Her lips brushed my jaw, warm and familiar, and I hated how my body still arched toward her. Sarah's note, I said, voice rougher than I intended, holding up the photo like evidence in a trial. Her body stiffened against mine, but she pulled back with a laugh that didn't reach her eyes. High and brittle, like fine china on the verge of cracking. Oh, that old thing. Drama queen as always. She plucked it from my fingers, flipping it over with feigned nonchalance. She was heartbroken, babe. We all were. But look at us now, married, thriving. Past is prologue, right? Her fingers lingered on my chest, tracing the knot of my tie, but I caught the flicker in her gaze, the quick dart to the window where the sun dipped low, painting the counters in blood-orange hues. Red flag number 1, 6 years buried. The rehearsal dinner cancellation. Sarah had called me in tears, saying Emily had confessed feelings for me, begged her to step aside for the greater good. I'd rushed to Emily's apartment, found her curled on the floor in lingerie and despair, whispering how she'd die without me. It felt cinematic then, Romeo and the impossible choice. Now, it reeked of script. Why'd you take that call in here? I asked, stepping back, the space between us yawning like a chasm. Her smile faltered just a hair, and she set the photo on the counter, turning to pour more tea. Steam rose, blurring her profile. Work stuff. That investor from Dubai, pushy but lucrative. She sipped, eyes over the rim, assessing. You okay? You look haunted. Haunted. If only she knew. My mind raced, piecing the puzzle with brutal clarity. The Cayman account, tied to her consulting side hustle, the one she'd started 2 years into our marriage, right after Sarah's messy divorce from that artist who painted her out of his life. Emily had been her rock then, flying to Chicago every other weekend to support her sister. I'd footed the bills, sent flowers, ignored the way Emily returned more radiant, more distant, her laughter echoing with echoes of someone else's. Denial had been my armor. She's just helping family. We're solid. But anger simmered now, hot and unbidden, twisting love into something jagged. How many nights had I woken to her scrolling emails, her face illuminated by secrets? How many times had she deflected questions with sex, pulling me under her like a tide, only to roll away at dawn? Tell me about the wire transfer. I said, voice low, the words tasting like ash. Her mug clattered against the saucer, tea sloshing over the rim in a dark stain that spread like guilt. What transfer? But her eyes, those sea-green eyes that had drowned me once, widened, betraying her. She set the mug down, hands trembling just enough to notice, and crossed her arms, a fortress of silken spine. Alex, if this is about the charity. Stop. The word cracked like thunder in the quiet kitchen, and she froze, mouth parting in that vulnerable, oh, I used to kiss away. But there was no vulnerability now, only calculation, a queen cornered. I pulled out my phone, thumbing open the banking app with shaking fingers. The alert I'd screenshotted months ago, time-stamped and damning. $250,000 to Horizon Ventures LLC. Your signature. Her alias, the one she'd laughed off as a fun pseudonym for freelance gigs. Her face crumpled, not in tears but in resignation, like a mask slipping. She sank onto a bar stool, the legs scraping the tile with a screech that echoed my unraveling. It wasn't supposed to unravel like this, she whispered, more to herself than me. Not yet. Heartbreak bloomed then, raw and physical, a vice around my ribs. Confusion warred with it. Why? We have everything. The house in the hills, the vineyard weekends, the way she'd murmur my name in sleep like a prayer. Love, anger, denial, they collided in my chest, a maelstrom I couldn't name. Talk, I demanded, voice breaking on the edge. No games, the calls, the trips, the money. Who's darling? She looked up, eyes glistening, and for the first time, I saw the fracture lines. The girl who'd grown up in Sarah's shadow, always second, clawing for the spotlight. It started with helping Sarah, she said, words tumbling like confessions in a confessional. After her divorce, she was drowning, debts, depression. I funneled money to her quietly, but it snowballed. The investor, he's real. We built a startup together, AI for luxury real estate. It's legit, Alex, I swear. But the accounts? I hid them because I knew you'd freak. You're so protective of the empire. Bullshit. The pieces clicked. The late nights coding on her laptop, the networking galas where she'd return with venture capital buzz and lipstick smudges that weren't mine. Betrayal wasn't just financial, it was intimacy stolen, trust eviscerated. And the stealing? I pressed, voice a rasp. 6 years ago. Was that part of the plan too? Seduce the mark, bleed him dry. Her laugh was bitter, a shard of glass. God no. That was real. Sarah was suffocating you, didn't you see it? Picnics and pottery classes while you dreamed of disrupting industries. I saved you. I loved you. She stood, closing the distance, hands cupping my face with desperate tenderness. Still do. This. It's survival. Mom's medical bills gutted us. Sarah's silence on the phone earlier. She's clean now, thanks to me. We can fix this. Walk away from the startup, come clean. Please. Her touch ignited the war inside me. Love's embers flaring against rage's inferno. I wanted to believe her, to rewrite the script where we were heroes, not thieves. But the photo on the counter mocked me. Sarah's looping script, a siren call to truth. Denial cracked, anger surged. You stole my future, I said, pulling away. The words a gut punch. Twice. Once from her, now from me. She recoiled as if struck, tears spilling now real and hot. Then take it back. Divorce me. But don't pretend you didn't choose this, us every day. The doorbell rang then, shattering the moment. A delivery, mundane as a heartbeat. But as I watched her wipe her face, composing herself with that iron will I'd always admired, the twist uncoiled in my gut, cold and final. Earlier, rifling the attic, I'd found not just the photo, but Sarah's letter tucked inside. I know about the baby. The one you convinced me to give up. He's raising her in Chicago, thinks she's his. Tell Alex, or I will. The child. Ours, conceived in the haze of what-ifs before Emily's storm hit. Sarah had hidden it to protect me, but Emily? She'd known. Buried it. For the fairy tale she built on bones. I turned to her, the words dying on my tongue. There's more, I whispered, but she was already moving, answering the door with a smile that could launch ships. Outside, the sun vanished, shadows lengthening like accusations. In that instant, I saw our life for what it was. A beautiful lie, crumbling under its weight. Not hatred, not yet, just a hollow ache, the kind that echoes forever. And as she signed for the package, oblivious, I wondered if love ever survives the thief who steals it whole.